Hello and welcome to Primetime Pastimes, Educating Lauren. I'm one of your hosts, Steve, and with me as always is our other host, Gav. Say hello, Gav.
Hi.
And we have the woman of the hour herself, Lauren. Say hello, Lauren.
Hi.
Now, professional wrestling is, of course, the pastime that brings us all together, but there is just one problem. Lauren has only ever watched modern wrestling. So join us as we mine the golden era, be ruthless in our dissection, give gratitude to the attitude, and maybe uncover some hidden territory as we educate Lauren. So there's been a lot of talk recently about my future. Will this be my last podcast? I guess I just won't know until the podcast is over, brother. Today's topic, we're going all the way back to 1992 as we talk WrestleMania 8. Before we do a deep dive into the show, Gav, do you remember it? I know we talked the other day and you
watching back, yes, but it wasn't one that was memorable to me as a kid, I don't think. That's why it just wasn't memorable. I do remember it, but it wasn't memorable enough to kind of go, "Ooh, that happened on that. That was like huge." That's kind of the only thing for me, really.
No, that's absolutely fine. That's fair enough. Of the four shows that happened this year, it is one of the least memorable ones, I think.
Yep.
No, that's absolutely fine. Lauren, did you know anything about WrestleMania 8 before you watched this?
Nope. Other than the fact we'd had one request emailed in for us to do WrestleMania 8.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So hopefully that's at least one viewer.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, didn't know anything at all.
Well, WrestleMania 8.
Know that Shawn Michaels is in the Rockers by this point,
which is great.
Yes.
No, it's good that we had a request for it because this was always the plan, and eventually, I'm obviously not going to spoil anything here, really, but eventually the plan is to cover SummerSlam '92 a bit later on in the year. So, as per usual, here are a few facts about WrestleMania 8. Whilst we are still generally on a downward trend in the business with poor ticket sales in the USA, this show did pretty well. 62,000 people in attendance, but a staggering 15,000 of those people got tickets for free. So it didn't do that well. Popularity of
25% off.
25% got in for free, not 25% off. So yeah, not ideal. But still, I mean, it's nothing to shy about the number for this pay-per-view. But yeah, not ideal. Popularity of the WWF was ramping up in the UK, however, thanks again largely to Sky TV. And immediately following this show, we had a great UK Rampage tour, which many still talk about. This is the last pay-per-view of the Golden Era, really, with only 7 of the 32 wrestlers who appeared on this show also appearing on WrestleMania 9. So a real mass exodus soon following this show. The British Bulldog versus the Berserker was planned for the card, but cut for time. It was a big weekend for Shane McMahon, appearing for the first time on camera as one of the suits that came out during the WWF Championship match. And the night before, he was feeling up Bret Hart's wife. And he was then threatened by Bret Hart. And no doubt that they made friends afterwards. Yeah. I'm sure. Good times. So before we jump into the full breakdown of the show, there's a couple of things that I do want to sort of talk about beforehand, which I think informed the rest of the show. We talked a little bit about the steroid scandal on our 1992 episodes. Go and check that out if you've got the time or the willing. So the steroid scandal, easy for me to say, is ramping up again. So as well as the Arsenio Hall thing, which we talked about in the last episode, former WWF wrestler David Schultz has directly said by this point that Hulk Hogan was not only taking steroids, but he was actually selling steroids early in his career, and especially on the black market. So a lot of negative press towards Hulk Hogan specifically. Several weeks before this show in St. Louis, there was a massive drug raid on the WWF. Police were parked outside for something close to 9 hours. Never made a single arrest, weirdly. And some people have suggested that this was because one of the road agents, Blackjack Lanza, had actually been tipped off by the police. So he told people, don't bring your gear, lads. There were multiple drug violations, though, shortly after this, notably Terry Von Erich, Texas Tornado, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Road Warrior Hawk, who had to drop the actual title belt. And that's why he's not on the show, really, because he was currently going under a suspension, and Sid Justice. So they decided to pause his suspension until after the pay-per-view. Now, do you know anything about the Ring Boy scandal?
Well, I don't know, actually.
It's fine if you don't. So this was also rearing, bad choice of words there, rearing its head around this time. So sorry for that. I love a pun, but not on this time. So several ring crew members and ring boys and people that were helping out backstage, potential referees. There was a huge flurry of people that were coming forward and claiming that several high-up individuals in the WWF had actually groomed them, including one of the senior guys, Mel Phillips, Terry Garvin, and Pat Patterson. Do you know who Pat Patterson is?
I know who he is. I do, yeah.
Tell me who he is.
I've heard the name then. There we go.
Lauren, you nodded. Do you know who Pat Patterson is?
Again, I know the name. I should probably know more, but...
No, that's fine.
Was he a booker?
So really, there was only one booker, and that was Vince McMahon. With that being said, there was a sort of creative team around him, and Pat Patterson, the first Intercontinental Champion, was one of the people that was heavily involved in the creative side of the business, as well as Bruce Pritchard. There was another guy that was heavily involved in it. Patterson's claim to fame, other than the fact that he was the first IC champion, was really that he invented the Royal Rumble. That was his sort of big contribution match-wise. But he's one of the guys that many have said is the secret sauce behind WWF. And Eric Bischoff has said on multiple occasions that if they were to change anything about WCW back in the Attitude Era, they'd have liked to have employed Pat Patterson. But anyway, he's retired at this point before he was going to be subject to any more weird claims. He was a openly gay man at the time where that wasn't looked on fondly. So a lot of people think that he was unfairly sort of tarnished with the same brush as the other people involved in that scandal. Other people don't. Well, that's not for me to say. He was back in the Federation about 5 months later, but yeah, he was a very, very big person backstage, and he was gone for a while, and the creative did seem to suffer. Another thing, because the hits keep on coming, is former referee Rita Chatterton. I don't know if you're aware of that person. She claimed that Vince McMahon sexually assaulted her in 1986, and that was a reason for her exit from the company. This is a weird one because this claim keeps coming up and then getting sort of brushed under the carpet. She's been sued, she's been countersued, she's been offered amounts of money allegedly. He's also been part of this recent lawsuit thing, but then dropped. It's a weird situation, but those allegations were definitely harming the WWF at that point as well, because it garnered quite a lot of media attention. So that's enough of Scandal Mania. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. This is the match that everyone expected to see. Gav, do you know why we didn't see Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair?
No.
I was expecting a bigger answer then.
No. I genuinely have no idea. All I remember really from this time, from Ric Flair, and that's what triggered my memories, was seeing all the secret photos of Elizabeth that was in the WWF magazine. That was the main thing I remember. And I'm not going to lie, even when I was a kid, I really wasn't bothered. So
I was in love with Miss Elizabeth. So
no, I actually liked Sherri.
Oh, she was sensational. Anyway,
when I was a kid, I preferred Sherri to Elizabeth. So
You're not going to like my comments through this pay-per-view then.
Probably not.
We'll get there later. So, yes, the original plan was going to be Sid Justice versus Hogan for the belt at Mania. It was almost not happening because Ric Flair came over, and we talked about that in our Rumble 92 episode, but he came over, was given quite a significant sort of focus in the prior months. He wasn't there in SummerSlam time, but his belt turned up without him and say, hey, we've got someone coming who's the real world champion. So they did consider, they being the WWF, did consider pivoting to Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. They had a lot of matches on the house show circuit. Those matches didn't draw very well. There wasn't a lot of people coming to the shows. And by all accounts, they weren't very good either. So it was sort of kiboshed.
Fair.
Well, a lot of people were under the impression that Hulk Hogan, the biggest thing in WWF, and Ric Flair, the biggest thing in NWA, WCW, was just going to be automatic money. But WWF had this thing where they genuinely believe, and there is something to this, that unless they've built the talents, then nobody who watches the WWF, or a very small percentage of people who watch the WWF, actually know who these people are. And there is some evidence to suggest that's true. And I do think that a lot of the WWF/WWE audience, they don't watch a lot of other wrestling. There's only quite a small percentage of people. So maybe that's one of the reasons. But I personally think that Flair and Savage is a much, much better pairing. I don't think Hogan worked particularly well with people that were smaller than him. So, yeah, I think that's sort of it. I do want to just briefly mention as well, one of the reasons they potentially didn't go with Hogan and Flair is because they didn't want Hogan anywhere near the WWF Championship at that point because of everything I mentioned earlier about the steroid scandal, him being a target. They very much wanted him to go away for a little while immediately following this pay-per-view. They didn't want him anywhere near the belt. And this is the first WrestleMania where the WWF Championship I'd say he's not contended because in the first WrestleMania it was in a tag match, but this is the first WrestleMania where the champion or the Ultimate Champion wouldn't appear in the final match, which is a bit weird.
Infuriatingly weird.
Yeah. So let's go into the actual show, and as always, what do you think of the commentary, Lauren?
Why do you always ask me this? I never frigging listen to the commentary.
It was the same one.
No, for the opening credits this time. I didn't have time to think about the commentary.
Okay, let's move swiftly on.
It was Heenan being Heenan again. So.
Yeah, it was. I did sort of notice, I think I did say to Gav a few times during it, there were a couple of like fun, quirky bits in the commentary. And some of the catchphrases are a little bit on the nose.
Wouldn't fly today.
But yeah. No, I do think I feel like the commentary was better on this than it was in WrestleMania 7.
I think you've just gotten used to it, personally.
I think they've settled into a bit of a partnership, and that's why it was a bit better.
Will you stop? I think that Gorilla was really animated in this show, far more animated in the first half than he has been previously. He was really quite.
Yeah, but they've got that sort. They've built that sort of bickering dynamic of
they're best friends.
That's what I mean. They've got that sort of. They know each other. They know what they're going to say. One will say something, and the other one's like, "Will you stop?" Like,
"Will you stop?" Yeah.
So yeah, I think the fact that they've, like Gav said, they've settled into like a relationship on commentary, and it flows a little bit easier.
Well, he's the full-on commentator now. There's not like WrestleMania 7 where he was away for a match, then back, then away for a match. He's there the whole time this time, even though he's a bit of a character in the Flair sort of dynamic. Well, he is there the whole time.
They even say in the commentary, don't they, like, you're not a manager anymore. If you want to go and manage, but you're with me now. So
exactly that.
They kind of make a point of it.
They also made a little point at the beginning of the show, trying to cover up for the fact that there was some empty seats, saying, "Oh yeah, people are still queuing, trying to get into the building." I think they were very self-conscious about the seating situation. I don't think it was that noticeable, really. I think it looked pretty packed.
Not massively.
Yeah. what do you think of Reba McEntire weirdly singing the actual national anthem, Not America the Beautiful, and then Bobby Heenan calling her a Reba McEntire?
Yeah, also very less patriotic than the last one we had.
That was funny.
Yeah.
McIntyre.
I think he has some belters. Belters. Tito's sister.
The American national anthem for a nation who love country music and have a lot of country music, their national anthem sounds freaking weird in country. Like with that country twang and the sort of the light heart, it just doesn't. It needs a proper power voice for the American national anthem to sound right, and I just thought that version sounded strange.
Do you think Willie Nelson would have done better?
Who's Willie Nelson?
The guy that sang the last one.
Last time he was covered in flags, covered in bees.
Let's move on if you don't know who Willie Nelson is, because I'm a little upset by that, to be quite honest with you. Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana. Obviously, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, we start talking about Shawn Michaels after I've just admitted not knowing who someone is.
Oh, yes.
And also, you didn't ask me about the opening credits.
All right, fine. Lauren, how did you feel about the opening credits? The reason I didn't ask you is because the last two times I've asked you, you've gone, I don't really know.
But because of that, I made notes this time.
Lauren, I really
liked the vibe this time. It was a really cool 80s, vibrant. It was a fun opening. It wasn't too long, like the flipping Royal Rumble one was. That wasn't even the Royal Rumble entrance, which was really annoying. Yeah, this one was short, sweet, punchy, vibrant colours. I really liked it. It was a good opening to WrestleMania.
You enjoyed that. I enjoyed it too. I really enjoy these earlier WrestleMania openings. It wasn't the 80s, it was the 90s, so I don't know if that's positive or not. But sure. Talk about match one from WrestleMania then. Should we talk about Shawn Michaels with Sensational Sherri versus Tito Santana?
Can I first address what the fuck was Sherri wearing?
Go on to explain what she was wearing.
I don't know what the outfit was supposed to be, but then what was with the weird face paint and the diamantes? And she had fucking diamantes down her back. What was that about?
So this is something that Sherri does do quite a lot. And you always remember her. You always remember her. Wait until you see SummerSlam 92. It will change your life.
I already hate her. I don't like her. She's irritating.
I thought she was great. I thought she was a wonderful, wonderful heel manager, up there with the greatest managers of all time. I thought she was brilliant.
Not seen it yet.
That's okay. I'm glad that you said yet, because there is time, and everyone's got their own opinion, so that's fine. But I hope that at some point it'll just click for you. What do you think about her singing Shawn Michaels' theme music?
Oh, was that what was wrong with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always sung it.
That's my next note of going, what was going on with Shawn Michaels' entrance music? Like, it was the right music, but the wrong version.
No.
Well, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for wrestling in 1992 and 1993. Eventually, when she breaks away from Shawn Michaels, he sings it himself. But I always preferred the Sherri version because it's her saying, "Oh, he's so hot, he's so sexy," rather than him just calling it himself, which was always a little bit weird to me.
Yeah.
See, I like the Shawn Michaels version because it amps up the character and it's that whole "I'm the best" and I think it works for him. And her version, it might just be because I'm so used to the main version that's known now that this one just threw me. I didn't even notice there was a lyric difference, that it was her singing about him. I just knew it was wrong.
Well, he's had essentially the same music for over 30 years, and that is unheard of. But the only person that gets anywhere close to it, and he doesn't have the mileage, is Bad Street Atlanta GA for the Fabulous Freebirds. And they weren't doing it, but they've not been active anywhere near as long.
Yeah.
But every now and then when they are active, they bring it back. That's really the only one, because Undertaker, you could argue, but
he's changed it a lot.
He's had different versions for stables and singles and all sorts, hasn't he?
Exactly that. So before we talk about Tito Santana, Reba McEntire's brother, this was originally the plan, but this was going to be Marty Jannetty. Do you know why it wasn't Marty Jannetty, Gav? I thought you might have heard this, but that's fine if you haven't.
I might have done, but I may have forgotten it. Can't you tell I didn't research this?
It's okay. I thought you might have heard from back in the day. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Marty Jannetty does enjoy drugs.
Yeah,
and he also enjoys women that aren't 21.
Yeah.
So, guess what happened?
Right. He was in trouble with the police.
So he was in trouble with the police. What happened was he went to a bar with his 19-year-old girlfriend. She was stopped from, just to let everyone know who's in the UK and doesn't realise, 21 is how old you've got to be to enter most bars in America. So she gets stopped. They have an altercation because she's got a fake ID, and it's clearly a fake ID. Policeman comes over to try and sort of sort it all out. Jannetty assaults the policeman and then gets found with a small amount of cocaine on him. And the most surprising thing about that story is it was only a small amount.
He took the rest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gossip in this podcast for you, Mr. Grimshaw.
There's a lot to talk about. It's gossip, it's a fact. So yeah, there's even more gossip coming in that case. But yeah, it's one of those situations where he could never get his WrestleMania moment again, Marty Jannetty. This was as close as he got to it, but it was changed last minute to Tito Santana. What do you think of Tito Santana now you've seen him properly, Lauren?
I don't know. So I really enjoyed this match. It was a very, very good match. It just felt like a really strange opener for Mania. Like,
what makes you say that?
It was, I don't know, the openings for Manias always seem to be like big, almost like all character matches of getting people involved, and do you know what I mean? Like, it's more of a showpiece rather than a very good wrestling match. Whereas this was a very good wrestling match.
I'm not sure I agree with you, but I understand from recent years.
With some promotions, it's that obligatory good wrestling match that you usually throw in
but
a few matches comes,
midway through the first half.
So you've got a little bit of, you've already woke up by the fun, and you can, I'll appreciate this one, but not, if you're caught cold on that, I could see you being a bit much. But other than that,
it was a good
great match. Yeah, great match.
Arguably the two greatest workers on the show, really, at this point.
Yeah.
I did find it was a really odd finish, though.
Yeah, talk about the finish. What happens as far as you could see?
Like, Shawn Michaels just seemed to fall onto Tito Santana.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not this was a botch or not. So he gets pulled into the ring, and Shawn Michaels grabs hold of the rope, and then that causes Tito Santana to fall, and then you've got Michaels with the lateral press, and then it's the 1, 2, 3. Excuse the pun, it fell flat. I'm not entirely sure if it was a botch or if they meant to make it look that botchy. I don't know if Shawn Michaels was a little bit too far away from the rope to sell it. I don't know if he was supposed to get his feet up on the rope or something. There's not a lot of information on this, but yeah, I agree. It was a really weird finish. I can see what they were trying to do potentially, but it just didn't work. How did you feel about seeing the Sweet Chin music, or as they call it at the time, reverse crescent kick, not be the finish?
There's so many differences now compared to obviously what we get. His finishes were not protected like they are now.
It wasn't his finish. Wasn't his finish at the time. His finish at the time was a Saito side suplex.
Yeah.
Which, fine. And it kind of looked a bit like an angle slam, but without rotating the whole way over. Just got picked up and dropped. Come on. But yeah, it was a weird finish. Quite a good match. They utilised the headlock a bit too much. But
my biggest thing was the one thing that really caught my eye early on in this match was the referee.
Yeah, I love that. I love that referee. He's so energetic.
But he's just like casually like laid on the floor like this, being like, "Two."
They don't need to pop up as much.
What?
They don't need. So with referees that on the UK indie circuit, we are always trying to get up and put our hands up, etc. But you don't really need to do that on a big pay-per-view that's being captured by cameras.
He's like so casual, like crawling around the ring when someone's in a submission, and he's just like on all fours. And like I say, when he does a 2 count, it's not even like he sort of knelt on his knees. He's literally sat with his legs out, with his arm out, like he's like halfway to paint me like one of your French girls.
I do get you, and you are right. But Tim, I thought he was a great referee. He was very energetic. He was very expressive.
Entertaining. Yeah. And I think he sells the match quite well. It just really made me laugh how sort of there's this really intense wrestling match going on to the point where I was questioning what I'd missed. Like, so I was quite surprised when you've just said this wasn't supposed to be the match, because I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I've missed the storyline here, because they like...
It wasn't one.
They really locked up, and then you've just got this referee just chilling, like...
What's weird as well is Tito Santana, a few years prior to this, was very well known for being part of the tag team Strike Force, and the person that Michaels would wrestle the next pay-per-view, SummerSlam, was Tito Santana's tag team partner at the time, Rick Martel. So he, in the space of 2 pay-per-views, he wrestled both members of Strike Force, which I think is quite cute. So anything else we want to talk about with that match?
Yeah, the one thing I did actually kind of pick up on was the way Shawn Michaels grabs the back of Sherri's head and throws it to the floor. I was a bit like, whoa.
I'm not advocating for violence, but their dynamic was great. I just loved it. She really sells the fact that she's in love with him, and he just does not.
Yeah. But it was so like, it caught me off guard a little bit, because obviously as you're an adult, you see things differently. So obviously as a kid, I wouldn't have done. But yeah, it was a very aggressive to the floor.
Sherri Martel, no relation to Rick Martel, by the way, but Sherri Martel, she was so well known for getting involved and being treated like one of the boys, to the extent that she was backstage, no problem whatsoever. The exact opposite of Elizabeth. And I'm not going to get into it. I'll get into it when we do a bit more of a Randy Savage focused episode. But she was the exact opposite of Elizabeth. She was completely ingratiated into the rest of wrestling. Everyone loved her. And yeah, had a sad end. Again, stupid, sexy drugs. Sad end, but everyone loved her. So, speaking of stupid, sexy drugs, LOD and Paul Ellering promo.
Why was it so long?
It was 2/3 too long, wasn't it?
Yeah. Ellering didn't need to come on again. He'd done his bit. It was done. But yeah, I'll let Lauren speak on this one.
Both phenomenal.
Threw me to start with.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, Lauren, I interrupted.
Ellering with hair.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen, or I know Paul Ellering as bald, like, what's the dude from Flash? From Flash Gordon?
Ming the Merciless.
Yeah, that's what he's always reminded me of, is Ming the Merciless.
Wow, okay.
So seeing him with hair was a bit of a surprise. I was confused why we had like such a long ringside promo, but it wasn't even their match. But then Gav reminded me of the last one that we watched, and all the promos were backstage, and I was like, okay, at least they've sort of maybe
got the crowd involved.
Very true. And
the next promo that was directly after this was backstage, so I was like, maybe not.
I think you hit the nail on the head. They wanted to give an appearance to the audience, the live audience of LOD, because LOD was so over. Why do we think that Paul Ellering was there? Because Paul Ellering had not been associated with Legion of Doom in the WWF. So allegedly, this is because of all the problems that Hawk was having. Number one, with authority. Number 2 with stupid, sexy drugs. So they thought that Paul Ellering coming in, who was very much a manager for them in regular life when he was part of the faction. I told you about the Legion of Doom faction with Jake Roberts and King Kong Bundy. He was involved in that, and he was very much the sort of ringleader and backstage manager. Then he went away, and the Road Warriors / LOD hadn't really had anything to do with him for probably about 5 years. Comes back, think to try and manage the Hawk problem, and it was a problem. And he wasn't going to have a match because he was currently under a suspension, but he could appear. And he, very, very entertaining man. But, it's too long a promo, far too long.
Yeah.
I'd actually put down on here that Paul Ellering reminded me of Jacob Marley from Scrooge, the way he was talking. And I'd forgotten about that, but I've just seen it in my notes. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Did you think there was an LOD-shaped hole in this event, Lauren, or are you tired of them at this point?
See, I've not seen much LOD. I can imagine from
every pay-per-view we've done so far has been LOD on it.
Yeah, but that is my entire exposure of LOD.
Okay.
So, like, for me, no. But when I put sort of the time scale together of all of these pay-per-views that we've been watching, I can imagine, like, there's a lot of repetition in, like, they have their top stars and they use their top stars, and that is sort of it. So I can fully imagine people getting bored of LOD, but at the same time, they also seem to be hugely over. So
hugely over. I don't think people were getting bored. I think the office were getting frustrated. But I wondered if you were a bit bored of them, because you've been a bit hit and miss on the LOD matches we've reviewed so far.
No, so the promo for me still too screamy. Like, I'm a very big advocate at now when people are filming promos and stuff like that. One of the pieces of advice I always give to the new trainees is you don't have to be up here. Like, quiet, mumbled promos can be more terrifying than you screaming at someone.
Show those people the next promo for Jake Roberts.
Oh, yes, that is the one.
So, yeah, the screamy promos is just, that's where I get annoyed with LOD, because everything is at level 150.
I get it.
But yeah, no, I personally still want to see more of them because I've seen such limited amounts.
I can't wait for the promo where they go, "Oh, what a brush," because it is incredible.
But yeah, the Jake promo's just been mentioned. That was my note for this was finally a good promo.
He was the master of promos.
But yeah,
he really was.
There's a reason Jake has the reputation that he does on the mic. Other than what I have watched through doing this series, I don't think I have seen a Jake the Snake match.
Wow.
Yeah, I
don't think you need to.
That's what I mean. I don't think I've seen a Jake the Snake match, yet I have watched so many Jake the Snake promos because he's just so good at it. I went through a phase of watching people's promos, and like I did Jake the Snake was one of them. I've done a full run on like Eddie Kingston, going back through the frigging history of all his promos for Chikara and everything like that. So I did similar with the likes of Jake the Snake and more recently Gibbo. So I have a thing for people's promos. Obviously, anyone who doesn't know me from within BritWres, I am sort of a ring announcer, and that's sort of my focus is the presentation of wrestling. So promos massively fall into that, and it is probably one of the things that I do nerd out about more than anything in wrestling.
Just explain who you mean by Gibbo in case anyone isn't in the loop.
Oh, sorry. If anyone doesn't know who I'm about with Gibbo, it's Zach Gibson, one half of the Grizzled Young Veterans, former AEW stars and BritWres International.
Current AEW stars.
Yeah.
Sorry, former WWE star.
There we go.
Current AEW star.
And I worked with him a couple of weeks ago.
Me too, on Infinite.
But yeah, he's another one that's just fantastic on the mic, and his little I say little, he's huge. His little protege, Scott Oberman, while we're talking about indie promos.
Can you guarantee those people will have watched Jake the Snake Roberts? It's a fact.
Oh, yes.
Incredible promo.
Absolutely. Jake, from what I've seen, Jake seems to be the first one to have sort of mastered that. So there doesn't seem to be emotion in him, but everything that comes out of his mouth has emotion.
I agree.
And yeah, I think from what I've seen, Jake the Snake is probably the first person whose promos have actually gripped me and made me go, I want to listen to you more.
So here's some more gossip while we're on the subject of Jake the Snake Roberts offering a lot more than the actual wrestling. So, Gav, before I don't know if you will have heard about this, but I am going to throw it over to you quickly. Are you aware of why this is Jake Roberts' last match in the WWF for 4 years?
Rugs again.
Fine. So I'll go into it. So Jake the Snake Roberts always wanted Patterson's job. He wanted to be a force on the creative team. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, Patterson has now gone. He asked, is this finally my time to step up into the creative process and start giving back in that way? Vince McMahon said no. He thought it would be disrespectful to replace Patterson so quickly, if at all. So he was holding that position open. Now, we know with the hindsight that Mr. Patterson would be back in 5 months. And that's probably why he didn't give Jake the Snake Roberts that role. Jake was understandably upset about this. Whether he's warranted to go as far as he does, that's not for me to say, but I understand why he's upset about this. So he then negotiates via his father, Grizzly Smith, who is an utter piece of shit.
Yep.
He negotiates with WCW booker Fry. And he agrees to go over, if he can get his release from WWF, to go over in a creative role, have a lighter schedule, and work some main event matches in WCW. So the day of this show, Jake Roberts asks for his release. He's told no. He then says to McMahon, if you don't give me my release, I am not going out to wrestle The Undertaker. So he holds him up. He does get his release, and he leaves. Now, let's not talk about this match for a moment. Let's talk about the aftermath of this match. Unfortunately, Kip Fry is let go from WCW. We have Cowboy Bill Watts come in as the booker, JR's best friend, who is utterly no nonsense. And he was very much the opinion of, well, you didn't agree that with me, pal. So you're getting a talent contract. You're getting the same time as everybody else. You're not having a lighter schedule, and you'll do what I say. And you're not getting anywhere near the creative side. So, yeah, there was a lackluster Jake the Snake Roberts career in WCW shortly following this. Very, very quick career. He was let go after a very short feud with Sting, the most notable of which was the coal miner's glove match, which was pretty cool. But that was it. And Jake the Snake Roberts would never reach the heights that he has in this show again. He would come back in 96, and we will be covering that at some point. But he was never the same, and this was essentially the end of the excellent Jake Roberts' career, in my opinion. This was it. So the match itself, and I will just do a little bit of a spoiler for the match, he convinces the quite green Undertaker when he gets out there, don't tombstone me in the center of the ring, tombstone me on the outside, and that way it gives me a little bit more oomph, and it looks like, well, you've had to tombstone me on the outside to get the job done. But the Undertaker was a face at this point, so Vince McMahon wasn't happy with that. He wasn't happy with the Undertaker, and again, as I mentioned on our last episode, Undertaker was already in bad book because of the supposed injury to Hulk Hogan on the chair, which never happened. So Undertaker himself was sort of soft mid-card for a number of years following this. So not a great story, What do you think of the match, Lauren?
Firstly, going back to the athletics and the presentation of wrestling, absolutely love Jake's ring entrance. Literally rolling into the ring and just sitting in the corner, waiting, and then the way he sort of grabs the top rope and just stands up. It's
psychology.
Yeah, psychology is so different. It makes him stand out.
Not unlike Lewis Johnson sometimes.
Props to Lewis.
Yeah.
Also, why was Taker on so early? Like,
because he wasn't a big deal at this point.
No, he wasn't a main player by this point.
But it wasn't dark. Like that was my other thing. Obviously, I know he's not earned the right to sort of be.
So earned the right.
Yep.
Yeah. But that joke's actually made in the show, and I wrote it down, being like, "Oh, Steve joke," because someone says he earned the earn.
That is correct. That's where I got it from.
Yeah, but no. The commentary team selling that, like portraying the fact that he smelled the formaldehyde, really tickled me. So I did listen to some commentary, clearly. But mainly, I think the thing I took from this match was it's the first time I've really seen Undertaker against such a good competitor. And I found it really eerie how slow he moves. Like, I've seen bits and clips and stuff, and you see him, like, doing the slow walk to the ring. But to actually see him keep that up for an entire match, there is very, very few points in that match where he actually speeds up, and it's because he has to for physics. But he's so slow. It's almost creepy watching him, and the way he plays off it is fantastic.
And this is this is the reason why this is my favorite version of the Undertaker. He moves like nobody you've seen in wrestling so far.
Yeah,
incredible. The 2 DDTs as well. So he made sure that he to Jake's credit, gave him 2 DDTs, and nobody kicks out a 1 DDT, let alone 2. So he really did set up the Undertaker to be a big star, despite the fact that he got tombstoned on the outside. Another side note, the referee in this was Joey Morella, which is Gorilla Monsoon's stepson, and he was a wonderful referee, had a bad end, unfortunately. Passed away driving in the wheel during the Attitude Era, but a wonderful referee, and he's all over the show. So I just wanted to acknowledge how missed he was later in WWF.
And the other thing with him, no one actually realised he was 6'7", really.
No, it's true.
He's Big John size. The guy's huge. Sure is. Like Taker, he's about 6'9", but there's not a lot of difference between Jake and Taker.
No.
Yeah.
But he didn't work like a big man.
No, that's the thing. That's why he was never put as a big man.
It's weird because Sam Houston, his brother, never worked like a big man either, but he was the same sort of size, which was quite weird. Anything else you want to talk about with this match?
Do you think lack of snakes?
How did you feel about the lack of snakes? I didn't think it hurt his good.
Without the little gimmicky bit, I think it was a better wrestling match.
I didn't think he needed it. No. I think it proves how good he was. They didn't need that gimmick.
Yeah.
Of course, I will just say the reason, again, is because of the really, really terrible angle, I'll call it, with Randy Savage getting his arm gnawed on by a snake several months prior. That was the beginning of the end for the snakes, really. Yeah. But I don't think he needed it. So we'll move on. Bret the Hitman Hart, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Lauren, are you still annoyed by Roddy Piper? Yep. Big 10-4.
Yeah, doesn't look like a wrestler. He's annoying as fuck. But I'm also still unsure why Bret's the most famous Hart.
Okay.
Like, from what I've seen of the Hart Foundation and stuff like that, obviously I know Owen was sort of touted as he should have overtaken his brother. I've heard two sides of the story. Some people do think if Owen had been able to continue, he would have been a better wrestler than Bret. But then obviously a lot of people say Bret was always going to be
I think the way he structured a match was almost unparalleled, which is weird because this match was put together by Roddy Piper. It wasn't put together by Bret.
You can tell.
It was a great match.
I think it was a good match. I liked this match.
What do you think of the match itself, Lauren? Not a fan? That surprises me.
It surprises me that you like it. It's the definition of a whiteboard nightmare. Because everything you could possibly have in a wrestling show is done in this match. There's a ref bump, someone's bleeding, they're outside, they've got weapons. There was just absolute. Why did Bret Hart crumple from a clothesline?
He was doing a bit of fakery a lot in this match. I think he had 2 or 3 spots where he was quote playing possum. I love this match. I agree. There's probably too much going on, but I think for the moment where he's holding the ring bell, and to this day, this is why I almost several times have painted my ring bell blue. By the way, because it looks exactly like that, except it's not blue. My ring bell, but yeah, he's holding the ring bell up, and the emotion I think is great.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
And did he blade?
Okay, so. Again, another big story. Apologies. This is the show of 2 blade jobs. So at this point in time, blading, the act of getting a razor blade, cutting your head or somewhere, and drawing blood intentionally was outlawed in the WWF. So Bret Hart did this quite quickly.
That's what I was thinking. I never caught.
No, he did. It was a very, very good blade job. What baffled me was what was supposed to have busted him open.
The punch.
Was it supposed to be the punch?
I'll talk you through it. because I have watched this match quite a lot, and I've done it. So he's on the outside, and he's messing with his wrist tape. So he's taking the blade out of his wrist tape whilst he's on the outside. He then puts the blade into his mouth. He gets 1 punch. He then spits out the blade. He gets a 2nd punch, and then you see him doing the blade job. So it was the closed fist by Roddy Piper that is supposed to have caused this. And he did it in such a way, and he went backstage afterwards, and they were treating it and pretending to everybody like it was a hard way. You know what a hard way is? Anyone? Explain to the audience.
Doing shot.
So they sold it as a hard way, and Vince McMahon believed it. So nobody got fined.
Wow.
Later on, because he was giving it all this backstage, like, God, I can't believe that happened. And there was a lot of blood.
A hell of a lot.
Awful lot of blood. But for someone being opened up from a punch.
Yeah.
Oh, no, a legitimate punch would do that.
That would not make you a punch from here. Would not.
Gav's killed a man. Gav's killed a man. You've got to accept what Gav says.
If someone punches you here and busts you open above the eye or something, there's something there to cause for. If you don't bleed from here, if
from
you've been punched,
bare knuckle punch, you would.
No,
Lauren, I certainly don't. That's all I can tell you. But Vince McMahon did believe it, so he didn't find these 2.
Idiot that is.
He'd say he didn't believe it. He didn't find them. So whether he made it believable enough that he could say, "All right,
well done, you've done your job well."
He did find the crap out of Ric Flair and Randy Savage later on, but we'll get there.
More obvious though.
Yeah.
So I quite like the ref bump
for Roddy Piper.
What?
So I can't remember exactly what was happening, but one of the notes that I've written down was there was a draping DDT. From Bret on to Roddy, and I think it was in the corner maybe, and he was he had this serious core strength to hold himself up for the length of time that he did, and he was at full extension, his ankles were on the ropes, where my comment earlier was he doesn't look like a wrestler, he's clearly like got.
Did you not see the abs on the man?
under
He had
it.
He's malnourished because he's only been getting one piece of bologna on his sandwich.
But yeah, I think he did. He was very clean in his work and a lot of stuff.
For me, I don't think there's any doubt this is the best match of Piper's career. I think the only one that comes close to it is the dog collar match, I think. And again, I'm fond of the match with the Mountie at the Rumble. But for me, this is by far the best Roddy Piper match. And I would say of all the matches on the show, people should go and watch this one. I know you don't agree, Lauren, but I thought it was great. And the finish, which we've seen something very, very similar on a previous episode for the Chi-Town Rumble.
Yeah.
What do you think of the finish?
Did you like it?
You can answer as well, guys.
Remember the finish?
So he's up in the sleeper hold, pushes off the second rope, flips over, gets the 1, 2, 3. The finish that you thought was so great in the Mike Rotunda and Rick Steiner match. This is what they do here.
Oh, was
it? Yes, it was. See, I was expecting this to be a talking point. Well, you were completely dialed out on this match then.
Probably.
It got that chaotic, and it seemed like it went on forever, and it probably didn't, but it just seemed like, I don't know, I'd lost interest, I think.
Okay, another little fun fact about this match: it's only one of 3 times that Roddy Piper was pinned in his WWF career. Once was Ric Flair, the other time was Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and obviously this was the 3rd time.
Yeah, I didn't realise Roddy was sort of that strong through his whole career.
Strong's the word. He'd always find ways to not get beat or get DQ'd.
He was a fighter. He wasn't really RPD.
Is he?
RPD is now like, you know what I mean? That similar wrestler.
I love that.
He's a fighter.
Piper did have a boxing match at WrestleMania 2 against Mr. T. And Lauren, do you know that he was in the main event of the very first WrestleMania in a tag match? Yeah, he was the catalyst for WrestleMania. Him and Hogan. And if you listen to Piper, he was just as integral to that show as Hulk Hogan. And I'm not going to say he's wrong, but yeah, if you listen to Piper, if they didn't want Hogan to beat up Piper as much, then WrestleMania wouldn't be anywhere near as successful. And who's to say that's not the case? He was a great heel.
I'm looking forward to the Goldberg.
You hate him.
The Goldberg and Piper. I think you will like Piper after that. Sorry, not Goldberg, sorry,
Goldust. Yeah.
That'll be where you might get it. I don't know.
I knew where your head was with that, Gav, because we have sort of softly mentioned that as well. So let's move on. Interview with Lex Luger about the WBF. Another failed venture.
Pre-recorded video that wasn't actually an interview.
Correct. Not a fan?
I thought it was a different, interesting dynamic to start with, when it genuinely seemed like
it was a conversation.
It was a conversation, yeah, and then towards the end, there was just mistimings, and it made it really obvious that it was a pre-recorded. But I thought it was a nice, different way to have someone do a promo, basically.
So he couldn't wrestle at this time because he just left WCW. So they hired him to the WBF, which was the WWF Titan Sports attempt at doing bodybuilding. Seriously, like everything that they've tried to do that's not wrestling, it did fail. And it was quite, I don't want to say comical the way it failed, but a lot of the people that they sort of poached from other places, when it came time for them to come back, they all got fined and say, right, you can come back, but we're fining you before you get to come back and compete. But yeah, they couldn't have, due to several months after his WCW contract, couldn't wrestle yet. So they found a loophole and had him advertising the WBF. But it would be less than a year before he's actually debuting as the narcissist Lex Luger, which is another story.
Definitely better with his mouth shut for me, but never mind.
And he doesn't do it in this, but when we get to a proper Lex Luger show, I'll tell you about the L's, because he puts his hand up like that, do it for the camera. And like Bret Hart with his sunglasses, and he's a very nervous guy. Luger's also quite nervous, so he'll do a little L with his hand, and he'll do that,
Just
and
so
then he'll
your
also
camera's actually reversed when it's recording.
okay,
so.
we'll do it this way. So he'll do a little L like that, and then he'll do that in his promos. Let me tell you, brother, and all this lot. So he's doing 2 lots of L's for Lex Luger. I don't know if it's subconscious, but he doesn't do it on this promo, but he does it a lot in WCW. Okay, so Bossman, Virgil, Sergeant Hacksaw against the Mountie, the Nasty Boys, and the Repo Man with Jimmy Hart. Is there anything you want to say about this?
Nope. Filler.
Lauren?
No point to it. There was no reason.
Before it was painful.
Okay.
The Nasty Boys genuinely bounce more than our 9-year-old ADHD child.
Yeah.
Virgil's comment of, my nose will be protected. Who's going to protect your nose?
Oh, master of promos is
We've
Virgil.
gone from the master of promos, Shake the Snake, to fucking Virgil asking who's going to protect your nose.
Yeah. The funny thing was, his nose was fine as well. He was just selling an attack from Sid Justice.
Yeah, but no, this match was chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Big Boss Man. I don't know why. I've just really taken an affinity to him. And the spinning... I don't even know what it was now. On my note just says spinning nut punch with a load of...
Oh, no, it's great, that. So I had the same note. This is by far the best bit of the match for me. Repo Man is doing the thing where you've got Big Boss Man on all fours. Repo Man is jumping up and landing on the Big Boss Man's back gooch first.
It.
Yeah, and then Boss Man just spins around, puts his fist up.
Like,
by far the best bit of the match. Yeah. It's the only bit of the match worth talking about, really.
Superb. But yeah, Big Boss Man. Really taking a liking to him. Just love him.
Yeah. If you ever punching nuts down in Cobb County Jail, or whatever the lyrics to that song was. Just a little comment about this as well. Ray Combs of Family Feud fame was a massive, massive wrestling fan. This was a big get for them. And he, unfortunately... It was, but you've got to bear in mind that that was a big celebrity. I mean, that's the equivalent of ISO Speed at Mania for the time. So, it is what it is. And unfortunately, he had a sad ending, mental health issues, and took his own life. So, quite sad, really, for old Ray Combs. But he had this and a few other little moments, much like Bob Uecker and a few others. Big wrestling fan. Randy Savage versus Ric Flair with Mr. Perfect.
How can it be the co-main event when it's like 4 matches down? They don't have a raffle. They don't have a half time.
Now, you don't know they didn't have a raffle. They could have had a raffle.
But then they could have said, this is the main event of the first half.
They could.
Fuck off. It was annoying.
Blue 72.
It was so annoying. The constant, this is the first headliner. It's not.
Can I just let everybody know, this amount of anger coming from Gav right now is probably only a third of the anger I received while we watched this live. This being billed as the co-main event and then not being the penultimate match infuriated him. I fully see why.
I can too.
Yeah.
Just triggered me. I don't know why, but yeah, fuck them. Fuck them all.
Don't do that. So, what do you think of the actual match, though, Gav? I'm going to go to you first. See if it was any fond memories.
I don't like Ric Flair.
You don't like Ric Flair?
No, I just don't. Okay. And to be honest with you, I kind of used to like watching Macho Man as a kid. I really don't now.
Wow, I'm wearing a Macho Man t-shirt today. That's how excited I was.
I know. I just don't. I don't get it. Like with Lauren and Brett and everything, I don't get why the promos great fun and some of the stuff he might do in them, but he looks like he's about 95. He looks like he's knackered already, and he's still got an entire WCW run after this.
Yeah, multiple ones really, and an entire WWE run as well.
And he looks tired and done, and he looks like he needs to hang them boots up. But
well, I enjoyed the match. I think this is a rare match where Ric Flair is quite aggressive. Usually, he's on the back pedal for a lot of the match. Quite aggressive in this. I liked it. I didn't like the finish with the pull of the tights from Randy Savage.
Mm.
But other than that, I thought it was a good match. I had no issues whatsoever. Lauren, any thoughts?
So I had quite a few notes for this one.
Okay.
So, firstly, the bell was rung before both competitors were in the ring.
Yeah, I hated that too.
Which gave me slight issues. Macho Man flying over the top rope like he's on the bars at the Olympics was quite impressive.
Yeah, he's an athletic man.
Yeah.
Just looks old. It's like he needs a Zimmer frame, throws it away, and then jumps out of the ring.
This is Macho Man. He's also wearing a top because he's not on the juice anymore. He's not on steroids, so he's wearing a top now to hide the fact that he's obviously lost a lot of mass, but he's a lot faster.
Yeah. True. But no, I thought this match was quite basic, but it was done well. For the matches that we've watched during this series, this was probably one of what I thought was one of the more cleaner matches, and better executed, to be believable. Yep. Other than there was, I think it's Randy comes off the top turnbuckle into a clothesline. It might be the other way around. I can't remember. But it just looked really disjointed, and a clothesline's not a move that you can amplify by coming off the top rope, really, in my opinion. Referee sandwich.
Not right now, I'm full.
They both ran at the referee who just kind of stuck. That made me giggle. But yeah, really obvious blade. But
yeah, really obvious.
Far more realistic reason for blading.
Yeah.
And I really, really liked how well the sneaky knuckles were done.
Explain how the sneaky knuckles were done.
So I can't quite remember. It was something to do with Mr. Perfect said
Perfect throws them in.
Yeah, Perfect throws them in. They're used while the referee is distracted.
Yeah. Perfect's then at the other side of the ring, throws them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really...
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. For so many of the sort of... Again, it goes back to my whole thing of how a lot of this era is less believable to me because there's so many things that should sort of be seen and then not. Whereas this was one of those of the knuckles were slid. There was no point where I sat there and went, that ref should have seen that. It was so well done.
Flair and Savage are three of the best workers of all time. They should be doing this right.
I may as well storm out of this podcast at this point, may as well.
Considering the rest of my notes for this match are how Elizabeth looks so pretty and elegant, and Sherri is, I wrote, just different. Because I don't understand. This is where I'm going to upset my husband now. Because one of my notes is genuinely, did people actually fancy her? Because
not really. I didn't. I think Gav's on an island there. I think people also called her Scary Sherri as well at various points in her career.
That makes more sense to me because she looks deranged.
Yeah. I think she was a fantastic worker.
That he's kept locked in a cupboard and he's just brought her out to parade her around a little bit. Can't believe he actually full on kisses her.
Yeah.
Such a different generation, obviously. And then just how big was that pyro?
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a mistake.
Before the pyro
I think that's
goes
exactly
off
right.
The stadium, it's literally it blows up in their face.
Did you notice again that I sort of keyed you up to this on one of our last episodes, but Randy Savage was wearing gold, tipping off the fact that he would win at the end?
Yeah.
Didn't twig that.
It's all right.
But also, that image of Flair is really, really popular, right?
Yes.
It's from that match. There's that iconic image of it. Yeah, I thought so. You can sort of just see with the hair, the way it is, and the blood streaming down his face.
That was a very common end to his matches, though, because he always loved to get colour in his hair because it was so blonde.
He does. Red makes green was one of his comments. But just before he says, "I'm going to kiss you," he sure does. He does like blading the lovely man because he's got blonde hair. It's because it just shows up a lot more.
Yeah.
The angle I'll just talk about dead briefly. It's basically an Attitude Era angle. This we're going to show you pictures of your nude wife live on screen. Is what was that, Gav?
Bit of a stalkery angle, I suppose.
Oh, that too, but you wouldn't expect to see that sort of angle in 1992, and I wonder how far they were going to go with it, because I do know they were going to go further. I don't know how far, because Randy Savage in real life was having massive marital problems with Elizabeth, and it would be a matter of weeks before they had full on divorced. This was the last pay-per-view we would see Elizabeth in WWF. He was on a couple of the UK Rampage tour bits and a couple more of the USA things, but we didn't see her again really until she turned up in the NWO. So yeah, I think. Well, I know that he kiboshed something, but I don't think anyone will ever really know exactly how far they were going to go with this, unless you speak to the people involved that are still here, Vince McMahon and Ric Flair. Neither of those people are particularly known for being truthful.
Reliable sources.
Yes.
Right, we're there. 1 minute before we carry on. We can edit this out, can't we? My phone's about to die.
Okay, so the next match is Tatanka versus the model Rick Martel. It's the first time you've seen Tatanka, Lauren.
It is.
What do you think of Tatanka?
I thought it was all right, but there was a whole lot of pomp and circumstance and massive character as he got to the ring with all the headdress, and then he got in the ring and there was no character. He was just Joe Bloggs.
He would get better. He would get better in his role, but he was a bit flat.
Yeah, I liked the sort of.
But he had the axe move.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I liked all the pomp and circumstance at the start. Mm-hmm. It was just, it disappeared as soon as he started wrestling, and that's again a big thing for me. If you're going to portray a character, you have to portray a character the whole time you're in the ring. You can't just talk the talk. You've got to walk the walk.
So Chris Chavez had been doing a little bit on the indies, but nothing massive. This was his first sort of taste at anything big in the world of wrestling, and he would evolve, and I think he got to be very, very entertaining. It's still weird seeing him in the long boy tights. Usually you see him in like, I don't know what you even call it. You'll know it when you see it, but he's wearing short boys with like bits of leather over the top of it, but not in a YMCA sort of way.
Still thought they creeped into the offensively racist again.
Oh, massively racist! I thought that was a given.
You're just like, guys. I know it's
not. Hey, how are you?
But you really do need to. Yeah,
it was a different time. We all know it's bad. It was a different time. It just is. It's one of those things. When you're watching a lot of these bits of old wrestling, you've got to just sort of accept it. Unfortunately, don't comment on it if you don't like it. It's just one of them things.
Yeah,
but
it was appropriate for its time.
I don't think it was appropriate for its time. Really,
it was accepted. It was accepted.
Were some of the dancers not even Native American? I sort of was looking at some of them. I was a bit like.
To be honest, I never asked them. To be honest, we've lost contact over the years. I'm not sure. I saw a few of them because I think the Lumpy Indians, and I believe they are up that way in Canada. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but there was a few Canadian flags, so possibly they were legit. I honestly don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. I was sort of I'd forgotten that Tatanka was in his long boys, and that sort of took a lot of my attention for some reason, because I really don't like those tights. It's got the weird arrows pointing everywhere. It reminds me of the Jeff Jarrett weird singlet that he wears when he brings the NWA back in 1997. Just weird. Sort of weird Aztec-y sort of thing, but whatever. This would be the second feud with I think it's the second feud. They feuded twice in 1992. Did Rick Martel and Tatanka? No, this is the first one because he steals his headdress at some point as well and make a thing out of that.
That's one I remember. Yeah.
Well, they have another feud in between, so it's weird. We'll talk about it in the SummerSlam '92 episode, but there is the next feud for Rick Martel, which is one that I don't know if you'll enjoy or not, Lauren. They're kind of feuding over Sensational Sherri, but they're two heels, and seeing two heels have a feud, I think this is the best example of two heels having a feud, other than maybe MJF and Adam Cole when they feuded. I'm not sure.
I really like Rick Martel. When I was a kid, I really did like him. He was just... He used to get me annoyed, but in a good way.
I think he's great.
Yeah,
I've always, nothing but positive things.
Did he ever have a belt? Did he ever get the Intercontinental or anything?
I
know he never got the main belt, but...
No, he feuded for the Intercontinental belt. Yeah. As I mentioned, he was in Strikeforce, so he got the tag belts in Strikeforce. And he was famously had a belter of a few different matches in AWA as their world champion.
Right.
And we are going to look at an AWA show a little bit later in the year where you see Martel as a champion, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Not entirely sure.
Yeah,
we'll come to that.
They never really seem...
like him more.
They never seem to show him as good a wrestler as he is, if you know what I mean. He's always they don't see
an enhancement guy.
Yeah.
I think probably one of these guys like your Dean Malenkos and others that are so good at putting other people over that they never sort of moved out of that spot on the grand scale. But I've got nothing but positive things to say about Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko? Well, I do have nothing but positive things to say about Dean Malenko, but nothing but positive things to say about Rick Martel either. Like Dean Malenko. Lauren, what do we think about this match in general, and what do we think about the model Rick Martel and his arrogance?
Not a fan of Rick Martel.
Shame.
Not gelled with the gimmick at all.
Okay.
He does remind me a lot of Jensen Vesper, though, which is weird.
That's what I said, wasn't it, as well?
Vesper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's weird. I'm not a fan, but it confuses me why, because he does remind me of Jensen, and I love Vesper so much.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it just felt like, especially coming off Gav's comment about the previous match being touted as the co-main event, this felt like such a nothing match.
Yeah, it did.
After that, and it was sort of like I felt like this was absolutely where everyone would just go, I need a wee, I need a beer, let's go refresh.
Without spoiling too much, this is very much a show of two halves, and we've seen the best half. It's just one of them things, really. And yeah, I think the entire show is quite poorly paced, really. But let's move on to Lauren's all-time favourite tag team, the Natural Disasters, against Money Incorporated with Jimmy Mouth of the South Hart. Now a face team, the Natural Disasters. What do you think about that, Lauren?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think they're fun. And I almost think it suits them better not taking themselves too seriously. Like, they're sort of going... They can wrestle, but they're not going, okay, we're not like the best technical wrestlers, but we'll squash you.
We don't talk enough in general, not us, I mean just in general, the wrestling community, don't talk enough about how good Earthquake John Tenter was and how athletic he was. Did you see that drop
kick? In Japan, he was amazing as well.
He was. But did you see that drop kick he did?
Yeah. For a guy of that size as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Tugboat was a hell of a unit. Well,
Sure was.
Typhoon, should I say? But yeah, he was all like shoulders and everything as well. He wasn't just like he was a unit, big dude.
I realised I'm not a fan of their gear.
Oh no, the gears.
They look like Marlboro packets. All I could see.
Yeah.
Once I'd seen it, I couldn't unsee it. They just look like Marlboro cigarette packets.
Well, fair enough. I see that. This is the first time that you've seen Mike Rotundo IRS properly wrestle. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's all I will say on the matter. Yes.
Okay.
No, they look like such an odd team, and I feel like that may have been partly the point of like the $1 million man being all lavish and whatever, and then your little like scrougy accountant sort of running next to him. That's kind of a bit of the vibes they gave. Again, me going for gear because again, aesthetics of wrestling.
Yeah, I get it.
Was so plain for someone called the $1 Million Man who eventually had a belt that was.
He's already had it at this point.
He's already had it. Yeah.
That's insane. Then, like, his gear literally looks like he's a New Japan young boy.
So, great shout out to New Japan Young Boys, by the way. There, love that. For anyone that isn't in the know, the system in New Japan Pro Wrestling, they strip away everyone's sort of gimmick and they all have them in plain black shorts and plain boots, usually no knee pads, and they teach them the right way and then they get their gimmick later.
Yeah,
so
you have to
great shout out.
Stable and and everything later on. So yeah, they start off in just plain black.
Yeah.
Neutral, and that's kind of what Ted DiBiase looked like. It was literally just plain black trunks with, I think he had something written on the...
He had a dollar sign on the side of his boots and a dollar sign on the side of his tights. That was it.
Yeah.
I've got to say, he also looks very reminiscent of Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Another person Lauren won't know. What you've got to bear in mind...
Is that not the singer that did the duet with Dolly Parton?
Yep, well done.
Well, okay.
Can you name a solo
in the
song
stream.
Howard of the County? You will have heard that song, I'd have thought.
Gav, we need to stop talking about Kenny Rogers and move on.
He did Glastonbury, for God's sake, is that good?
But no,
when we do the Glastonbury podcast, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I'm sort of this pay-per-view, even though I have massive flaws in a lot of the matches, there are a lot of things that I feel like we're getting towards wrestling that I could invest in because things are starting to look more realistic, like to the point where I was genuinely like questioning the turnbuckle headbutt things, like
they were really well done.
It looked vicious, and I feel like that wasn't all like work.
Yeah, I think you get a degree of athleticism. I will say this: realism is about to go right down the drain. One thing I was going to say in regards to the young boy-ish style tights of Ted DiBiase, that's easy for me to say. He comes from a time where we didn't have a lot of flamboyant tight, and IRS is sort of the antithesis of that in the sense that from this year onward, almost everyone would have a gimmick. You'd have plumbers, you'd have garbage men, you've already got repo men. So it really this is the transition. We're seeing the transition now. This is the end of the golden era. We're about to go into the new generation era where we're favoring Kahuna Crush is coming. But we're favoring athleticism, yes. We're favoring people that aren't obvious steroided up, but we are going very cartoony. And
yeah, it's like we're in the right age of wrestlers now. Like people, you can just go into the ring as a wrestler and people will buy into it. Whereas now we're going to more character-driven.
Exactly that. And IRS and Tito Santana and Barry Darso were the three most obvious versions of this. So Tito Santana wore white tights for years. Now he's a bullfighter. Demolition was BDSM road warrior for years. And then suddenly he's a repo man who is essentially a cartoon character. Mike Rotunda was in the Varsity Club, collegiate wrestling athlete. Now he's a taxman and wears a tie to the ring. We are moving in the direction that is going to put a lot of people off, and that is the new generation. But this tag team is very much the golden era and the new generation in one team, which is why they look so different. I know that they wrestle at the same time. Well, I don't know if they were intentionally doing it, but it's certainly what happens. And again, this whole steroid scandal is pushing the WWF into some territory which is interesting, and the business is going so downhill. It's going up in the UK. This, by all accounts, WrestleMania 8 is a blip. It did really well as far as ticket sales. We wouldn't see this height for years after this show. We'll come to it if we ever do WrestleMania 9. The drop-off between this and WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 9 was essentially a arena that they built on a car park. And there's far less people. Yeah, but we'll get there potentially, especially if Real Deal Neil gets anything to do with it, because he's dying to talk about WrestleMania 9. So yeah, any thoughts on the finish?
I loved it.
Okay.
The champs getting DQ'd, like, you don't see it often enough as a way to get out of sort of, I really enjoy it.
Because they would never have beaten the natural disasters. It's not going to happen. So
I once thought so.
But to especially with the characters that they were, to just be like, nah, I'm taking my toys and going home. It worked really, really well. And it means no one has to pin or I try not to use technical terms on this podcast, but then I forget what I don't know what other words to describe them as. No one has to bury the natural disasters, i.e., like no one has to pin them and make them look weak, which it would do if someone, especially if Mike Rotunda was to pin them. Not being funny, when you've got a scrawny looking accountant, you're not pinning the two mountains that the natural disasters were.
No, I agree. Everyone stays face. It was a good match. Sets you up for where the real money was made in this time, which was the house show circuit afterward. Because in many ways, the big pay-per-views were just teasing the eventual rematches. Yeah. Good stuff. So Brutus the Barber Beefcake promo. Do we want to say anything about that?
I've forgotten about it. That's how good that was.
Yeah, not a huge fan of Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and he had no reason to say anything. He's like, yeah, I'm Hulk Hogan's best friend, and I'll miss him. Right, cheers, Ed. Speaking of a waste of time, we've got the excellent Owen Hart against Skinner, the Alligator Man. Epic match.
Mad pants on Owen. So quick I missed it.
That's his MC Hammer.
That is the entirety of my notes for this match.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm all for getting people on the show, but there's no point of this.
Yeah, make it at least mean something. Just a little bit.
It would have been better to have them do stage side promos like LOD did. It would have been more meaningful than what this match was.
Legitimately, and I'm not just saying this, I think we've been talking about this match longer than the match, and we've only been talking about this about 30 seconds. But legitimately, I think we've been talking about it longer than the actual match. I don't want to talk about Owen because we've talked about Owen, and there'll be other opportunities to talk about Owen to a much large degree. I do want to talk about Skinner, Steve Kern. Anyone know anything about Steve Kern? Not necessarily the Skinner character, but
I've heard the name Steve Kern rather a lot, and it's probably from you, to be fair.
No, you say Skinner,
probably.
and I think Ian Skinner and
Skinner.
Chaos.
Yeah, so
No
Steve
friends.
Kern.
He's got lots of friends. Leave him alone.
No friends.
Steve Kern has lots of alligator friends, apparently, in the Florida Everglades. So Florida is the key word in that sentence. He has done a lot of gimmicks in regards to, he was in tag teams, the Fabulous Ones or the Fantastics, I always forget which one, but he's been in a lot of tag teams. He portrayed one of the Doink at one point.
That might be where I know the name.
Possibly. It's more likely you'll know the name because he opened up a company called Florida Championship Wrestling, and this is where you got a lot of today's big stars coming through. So Florida Championship Wrestling was a precursor to NXT. Great documentary on that somewhere that used to be on the WWE Network. Don't know where it is now because the whole thing's a minefield. But if you can find it, great documentary. Some of the people that were trained out of that facility was all three members of the Shield, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, more than John Moxley / Dean Ambrose because he'd already had some training. But yeah, that was really the finishing school for Moxley, and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were down there. The Rock spent a little bit of time in the facility before the facility became Florida Championship Wrestling. Big E, the Bella Twins, AJ Lee, all trained by the facility, which included Norman Smiley and a few other people. Kern himself.
The Four Horsewomen were the original Four Horsewomen. Bailey,
Exactly that.
Bailey, Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha were all came through FCW.
Exactly that. So a massive thing. Kern himself, aside from the FCW, he trained people like Jeff Farmer, who is known more for the NWO Sting angle and that meme that's been going around from I Think You Should Leave about the wrestler. That was based on him. Midian / Phineas Godwin from the Godwins, Tracy Smothers, Mike Awesome, Diamond Dallas Page, and the big one's probably Dustin Rhodes came out of that facility as well. So massive influence on wrestling. Doesn't get his flowers enough, really. Yeah, there is one thing I did want to talk about. Do we know, and I'll pass this to you, Gav, in case you did know, but I don't know if you will or not. Do you know why there was only Owen Hart here and it wasn't the New Foundation?
Drugs. I don't know.
In a roundabout way, yes.
Why has drugs been the answer to every question this episode, Gav?
No, it wasn't.
It started
Well, it's
off
kind
with
of.
sexy drugs. I'm glad we've dropped that because drugs are bad, children.
So stupid, sexy drugs
No,
were involved.
drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad.
Don't take
So,
drugs, children.
yeah, just say no. So Jim Neidhart just said no to doing a drugs test. And he basically was going to get a slap on the wrist before he threw a monitor at someone. So that's him out of the Federation. And later, Owen Hart would get repackaged with Coco Beware in the same silly outfit, calling themselves High Energy. Yeah. So there you go. Right, it's main event time. Hulk Hogan.
The actual main event?
The actual main event. Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice with Harvey Wimpleman. Any thoughts, Lauren?
Lots. Why is music still playing while they're already fighting?
Well, when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, Sid's going to get hit and he's going to take a ride. What a way to bury your big heel is by having him getting beat up before the match is started while Hulk Hogan's song is still playing. And
we thought the match had actually started. I must have missed the bell.
No, match had not started until the music stopped.
Right.
But this is an extension of Hogan was posed. This is just, let's get that last feel good thing. The fans didn't care. The fans were cheering for Sid Justice in large points. Sid Justice did become a dominant force later on in this match. But for me, if you've got this big scary monster,
the dude was like huge, even compared to Hogan.
Well, if he's being thrown out of the ring and getting punched, you're immediately saying this guy isn't on the same level as Hogan. It just seems like such bad psychology.
Yeah. But no, most of my notes are just, I don't like Hogan.
Okay. You quite liked him at one point, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah, during the Rumble, you said you quite enjoyed his work.
Oh, I might have enjoyed him in a Rumble when I didn't actually have to watch it much, because this match, he was shocking. Firstly, the straightened hair just looked silly. So much noise for a test of strength from both of them. The cartoonish head turns. Wait
until Mania 6. Wait until WrestleMania 6. You're going to shit on everything that Gav loves.
He barely jumps for a choke slam.
Yeah.
And then sells it like he's having a friggin' epileptic seizure.
He sandbags people so often.
Explain what that means, Gav.
He sandbags them. Usually, if you sandbag someone, obviously for those who don't know, it's when you don't sort of help the person across the ring make the match look impressive. So it's not...
You're basically making yourself dead weight.
Yeah, making yourself dead weight so that when they're trying to lift you're heavier, you're not helping them.
You make them weak, basically.
Yeah, and you make the move look shit. You make both of you look shit, really. But yeah, he doesn't jump at all. But sorry, going back to my point, usually when people sandbag someone, it's because there's some external beef or they don't like the person. Something's happened earlier on in the match and they go, haha, I'm going to show you. And the intention is to make their opponent look shit. Yet Hogan does it and then flails around like he's just been killed. And it's just like, his logic makes no sense. Like, there is no surprise he has such a reputation for sort of seeming like a maniac, because he's so Jekyll and Hyde, even in the ring, let alone outside of it. The super long, submission where he's squeezing his shoulders.
I knew you'd love that one.
A, what are you doing? And B, why do they take so long doing it? And then I have so many issues with the finish. It's just, yeah.
Before we talk about the finish, I want to inject a little bit of positivity. What do you think about Harvey Wimpleman?
He's a snot-nosed little pain in the arse, and I've never liked him. There you go.
How do you really feel? Behind the scenes, a lovely man. Offered Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson somewhere to stay when his career was started. Was a road agent, was a dog's body, did everything backstage, multitude of jobs. He ref, he agented, he did talent relations, he did all sorts of things. And when Giant Gonzalez was getting into a bad time, he was regularly sending money back to Giant Gonzalez's family to make sure he could live, basically. So I just want to shout out, because I don't know when we're going to talk about Harvey Wimpleman again. What a lovely man the former downtown Bruno on the Memphis scene was, because by all accounts, a lovely man.
Definitely sounds like it.
Let's talk about the finish now. We've said something positive. Let's talk about the very negative finish.
Sid Justice, though. I thought he was a really good heel, and they just ruined him.
Why do you think they ruined him, Gav? Let's just delve into that.
He was effectively, could have been WWF's Goldberg. He could have been an undefeated streak, no problem. No one would have had any problem believing that he was unbeatable. He could have had a heel run to end all heel runs with him.
What's funny about that is you didn't watch a lot of WCW, did you?
Not really, no.
So the tail end of WCW, they tried to do the Goldberg thing with him, and there's a funny series of videos and memes on it where they were trying to, because Goldberg had this undefeated streak of whatever it was, 200
whatever
or
they
whatever.
inflated it to through house shows.
Yeah, whatever they inflated it to. So they tried doing the same thing and getting Sid Vicious or whatever he was calling himself at that point, where he was beating multiple people a match to the point where there's a video going around where you can see Sid powerbombing people, and then the ref just counts to three without a cover attempt. That was a way to inflate his numbers.
Right.
And it's a weird time in wrestling when they do try and replicate the Goldberg thing with Sid. So you're right on the money. People did try and turn him into Goldberg much later.
I mean, the thing, I think what it is with him as a person, he loved another sport more and would drop wrestling, which affected his push.
Talk to us about that, Gav, because people might not know.
Well, he was a softball player, and that was his main passion.
Yep.
I would not have liked to have been on the end of a ball that he was hitting at all. But so he'd regularly kind of go, I'm out for a while. Softball season started in a bit, and Vince doesn't like it. So
he was also a big family man.
Yeah,
I think we do need to say that because very, very close to his son, Gunnar Yudi.
But he also I think he's one of the first wrestlers of the time to say wrestling is a way to put money in the family, not for you to make money off me. It's the other way around. So, and he was for himself, which is needed.
Well, just piggybacking off the back of that, after this match, he goes on the European Rampage tour, and once that tour's over with, it's time to do his suspension, because he obviously, the drugs thing earlier, as I mentioned in the episode, he goes to do his suspension, and he says, actually, I'm going to quit the business instead.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't see Sid Justice till 1995.
Yeah, it's a good little break.
Yeah.
But they only bring him back, don't they? Because they lose somebody.
Let's get to that another time.
We'll talk about that.
There are reasons. But
are.
It's weird that following this match, Hogan would be gone for 11 months, and this is really the end of Hogan as well, to a big degree. Sid wasn't there. A lot of the main stars of the business weren't there. By the end of the year, he wasn't gone. But by the end of the year, Ric Flair was sort of phased out. We really are losing the golden era of people. But again, let's talk about the actual finish, because there's some controversy over this. What do you think of the finish, first of all, Lauren?
So, for me, when the bell rings, my first assumption was that Hogan had been DQ'd for attacking the manager.
Okay.
That was my first.
Would you DQ someone for attacking the manager?
No, not really.
No, but I don't know why. That was my sort of first assessment, was because that seemed to be the sort of the time frame that it happened in. The bell. There didn't seem to be anything else significant happened before the bell rang. But then commentary said, obviously, Papa Shango comes down and gets involved.
It sure does.
Way after the bell's rung.
Yep.
And then commentary say Hogan wins due to Papa Shango's involvement.
It should have been Wincombe's involvement, really.
No, because Papa Shango came down after the bell had rung, but also I didn't see either Hogan or Justice do anything, looking back at it, that would have got them DQ'd.
Gav, No, you've not missed anything, Lauren. Gav, can you fill in the blanks here?
I think it's obviously Wincombe gets in and they disqualify Sid because Wincombe gets in Hogan's face.
That is on record for what happened.
They just say for the wrong person, basically.
What was supposed to happen was Charles Wright, Mr. Papa Shango, missed his cue.
Right.
So the plan was Papa Shango was going to waddle his ass down to ring much, much sooner in that whole sequence. And he was going to cause an interference as Hogan dropped the leg. So we weren't going to get a kick out from Sid, because Sid is the first person. It's the first person to kick out of the leg drop.
Yeah.
Many people say it's Yokozuna the next year or the year after. I can't remember. But no, it's Sid. Sid is notably someone that has kicked out of the leg drop. He did that because Papa Shango had missed his cue. Again, we've already praised him in this episode, but Harvey Wimpleman thought on his feet, jumped in the ring, and gave an ending, because Charles Wright hadn't even come through the curtain when Wimpleman was in the ring and the bell had rang.
Yeah, because obviously if your manager puts hands on someone,
it's a DQ.
Yeah,
you would be DQ'd.
Yeah,
but from what I saw, Wimpleman didn't actually attack him. Hogan was the first one to make contact.
He was, and it's pure panic stations. But there was enough going on there that they've justified it.
But yeah, there was no actual. I suppose, yeah, when Wimpleman's retaliated to Hogan, he has then got Sid DQ'd. But yeah, it was just commentary sort of weren't on the ball.
Following the narrative,
yeah,
not looking at the ring.
Yeah, commentary were looking at notes rather than what...
Exactly that. And trying to cover for everything as well, because, you could... The winner is the person that writes the history, and etc., and they can write whatever history they want. Much in the same way that apparently no one had ever kicked out the leg drop, but had, and much in the same way that nobody had ever slammed Andre the Giant. But
never been done. It'll go down
create their own
the
reality.
History of all time.
But also, with the last part of this match we haven't mentioned yet was Ultimate Warrior making his way down to the ring. And I don't understand it. Again, I feel like there's stuff like this is context based, and with only dropping in and watching a pay-per-view and stuff, I'm missing a lot of the context.
We should have gone to Mania 6 because you would have understood a lot more. Really?
We should have gone to SummerSlam if we were going to fill in the blanks, because what happens at SummerSlam the prior year, 1991, we saw WrestleMania 7. I said that Warrior was on his way out shortly afterwards. I won't go too much into it, but there is an altercation at SummerSlam 1991, similar to the Jake the Snake Roberts situation here, where Warrior held up Vince for money and then got fired as soon as he came through the curtain. So essentially, as far as people know with the Ultimate Warrior, the last time we saw the Ultimate Warrior was in summer 1991, where he was running after Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Adnan, and Mustafa with a chair. And he's been circling the continental US ever since. And then he managed to change gear and then ran into the show today.
But there's already, realised he was a failure to take over Hogan. So why try again?
It wasn't even that. It was the fact when he came back, as he comes out, the way he's puffing, I don't know whether that was whether that was part of his character or whether he was just gassed from being...
He just gasses very quickly.
But it was slightly traumatizing to watch, and he looked high as hell.
He was.
That'll be the cocaine. So a couple of things on that. So out of all the people that were named in this steroid scandal, weirdly, Ultimate Warrior wasn't one of them.
No,
he openly admitted to it. So again, WWF needed a star. They didn't want Hogan. They thought, okay, we'll bring back the Warrior. They knew something had to change. They weren't entirely sure what. So they pivoted back to Randy Savage. They brought in the Warrior with all intentions in the world for Warrior. Well, originally Sid was going to win the belt, but then they pivoted to have Warrior win the belt eventually from Savage. But spoiler alert, they take some different choices, and we have a very, very different end to 1993 than the beginning of 1992 than the beginning of 1992. But yeah, the Ultimate Warrior came in. They hoped that they would tread enough water, that they would sort of ride the waves and ride the storm. I'm throwing so many analogies at that. They hoped that they would just carry on and they would sustain business for as long as possible for them to eventually bounce back like they have done multiple times before. But this steroid scandal loomed over them for 2 years. It was a absolute nightmare. And you won't notice this, Lauren, but this is one for Gav. How do you think the Ultimate Warrior looked when he came back through the curtain after going through the continental USA for about 7 months?
Considering everyone else had stopped the roids, he clearly hadn't.
He was smaller, though.
He was smaller, but he was still... Them veins were literally exploding.
So vascular, brother.
Yep.
So
he was a bit smaller, but...
Did you hear the rumours around him being replaced by a different Ultimate Warrior?
Yes, I do remember that, saying he was a completely different person. You can see from the nose it's the same dude. But...
You sure can. But yeah, he had a slightly different hairstyle. He was a lot... he wasn't as swole as he was previously. His gear was a little different.
He didn't tie his laces tight enough on his biceps. That's all it was.
That might be it. What's that laced with? I think we all know. So people were saying he was like Kerry Von Erich, Tornado, come dressed up as the Ultimate Warrior. There was like, oh no, the real Ultimate Warrior died. There was all these sort of conspiracy theories, to the extent that a little bit later on in the year as well, it was only a few months really, Warrior would start wearing singlets with airbrushed muscles on instead.
Yeah.
Instead of just getting the guns out. So
there's a lot to come.
there is a lot to come. Well,
we've seen Gonzalez's outfit, surely.
Giant Gonzalez is 93, but yeah, the airbrushing.
Oh, wait till you see that gear.
Airbrushing was running wild. That's all I'll say.
It's not the airbrush; it's the pubic hair. That's just ridiculous.
I really don't want you to give any more context to that until we cover it, which might be next year.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it as far as my comments on WrestleMania 8. A change is coming. This is pretty much the end of the golden era, in my opinion. Gav, anything more you want to add?
We're going to get some really randomly crazy people that come for like a couple of shows, fail, and go away and come back as huge characters later on. That's all I'm going to say.
That is factual. Lauren, if you were to pick one match from this, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh, I've closed my notes. 1 second.
Close my notes.
As much as it was chaos, I think the 8-man tag was quite fun chaos. I wouldn't suggest anyone went back to watch it. Ooh,
wow,
it just got really dark.
That's because you spoke some serious. Like, don't listen to her. Don't listen to her at all.
So that was the ghost of at least 7 wrestlers coming back. Going,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, I think Jake and Taker or possibly.
That's why the lights went out, because you didn't say Taker straight away, so we turned them out.
Yeah. I don't know, possibly the Macho Man thingy one.
Macho Man and Rick thingy.
Rick Dingling.
It's as big as a baby's arm holding an apple. Gav, what would you suggest people watch out of this?
Roddy and Brett, for me.
Roddy and Brett for me too, hands down. I don't think I don't think any of them are close. I think Roddy and Piper. Roddy and Brett are the one for me. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Next month next month. Is that right, Lauren?
Yep.
Next time we record this,
there we go.
We are going to be talking about WCW Uncensored 1996. It's the Alliance the Alliance against Hulkamania. Oh,
this will be.
It may be this month. I've just quickly flipped through the calendar. I think this is scheduled for the very beginning of May, and I think the next one will be the very end of May. So,
well, may the gods of wrestling have mercy on us for the next show, because it's going to be another fun one, and we get to see how bad WCW is just before the NWO comes crashing down, and it hurts inside. So, one last question, Lauren. Do you feel educated?
Or miseducated?
I know things I didn't know before.
That's all I want. That's literally all I want. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. And again, if you are working in the wrestling space and want to appear on our regular Primetime Pastime podcast talking about your passion, then please get in contact. Otherwise, have a great day, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you are listening to this. Bye-bye.
Or if you've got any good pay-per-views for me to watch.
Just let it happen.